picture of a family member, our own mothers, for example. We show a certain affection. We display the photograph or picture in our homes, and we certainly would never want to, in any deliberate way, show any disrespect towards the photograph of our mother, for example, because of what it represents. And likewise towards the statues of the saints, and not least that of the Holy Mother of God, we show reverence and veneration because of the person represented. Today, of course, it's a very special occasion for our nation, for our country, Canada, celebrating its 150th anniversary. And many people will mark this occasion by doing all sorts of things. I believe tonight we have fireworks here in Nanaimo, which I'm looking forward to, over the harbour. There have been all sorts of parades, processions, events, picnics, barbecues, and all sorts of things. But how wonderful is this, that we may receive this statue in Nanaimo to mark the Feast of the Precious Blood, the beginning of this week-long visitation to our humble abode, and this coinciding with this great national anniversary. So thanks be to God for this providential way. As Donnelly was saying, it's the busiest day of the year to travel, and yet such is life. This is when Providence has organised that the statue arrived here in Nanaimo. So thanks be to God for that. And of course, how in Ottawa there is a visit this very day from His Royal Highness Prince Charles and his wife, the Duchess of Cornwall, Duchess Camilla. Interestingly, by the way, that marriage is recognised by the Catholic Church. Why is that? Because initially Camilla was married to a Catholic, an army officer who obtained an annulment from his first marriage, and therefore Camilla, in the eyes of the Church, was free to marry Charles. That's not to justify all the history behind that particular situation, but it's interesting to know this for a future head of state. And no doubt, and in fact the photographs I saw, Prince Charles and the Duchess of Cornwall were in an open carriage with an escort of Mounties in their finery and so on, with the police, the crowds, the fanfare, and rightly so, the representing the monarch, Queen Elizabeth, her son, the Prince of Wales, was received with all due solemnity, honour, dignity, ceremony, because of that which he represents. And even if it's true that the monarchy has now become a constitutional monarchy and has fallen away from the Catholic faith, it still represents the idea of monarchy, of God reigning upon his people, represented in the person of a monarch. And these ceremonies represent and call to mind the times of faith, alas, far in the past. And we remember how the coronation ceremony, even of the Anglican monarchs of Britain and Canada, is the Catholic coronation ceremony, which the Catholics themselves, ever since Pius XII, have actually put to one side. And yet, in this quirk of fate, Anglicans have kept the Catholic ceremonial to its very letter of the coronation and anointing of the monarch. It's interesting, is it not? In that sense, the monarchy calls to mind those things which come from Catholic times. If I mention these things, it's because, of course, in the reception of a venerable statue, there is a comparison between the royal passing, the royal passage, royal passing I think is the term, and reception of a sacred statue. As I mentioned in Langley a week ago, when we first received the statue, of course we're just a small little community there in Langley, as here in Nanaimo. We don't have all the possibilities to receive the statue with all the fanfare, ceremony, solemnity we would otherwise would like. In the Philippines we'd have the local army corps come out for our procession with the Blessed Lady statue. We'd have fireworks in the sky at night time. we'd have the police, we'd have the road closed off, we'd have hundreds of people, and so on. All these things are the body of God through His Holy Mother. So we can't do these things. We don't pretend to be able to do the impossible. And yet it's precisely a few faithful souls, with generosity in their heart, with filial piety, with a great desire to please Almighty God and to honour Almighty God through His Holy Mother, that we're gathered here today. So thanks be to God for your presence. I know some of you have travelled several hours to get here, whilst the rest of the country thinks about, on the island thinks about other things, no doubt. And I mentioned last week in Langley how there was an incident, not an incident, but an actual regular event in the life of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who died some years ago at the age of 102, a very popular figure of the royal household, who each year would be going to some particular event, I forget the details, in a big black limousine with the flags and so on, maybe an outrider or two, and would go past in wherever it was, outside London, a little shop, a little store. And each year would come outside the shop, the shop owner, in his suit, wearing his shop's apron, and there to acknowledge the Queen Mother going past. Now correctly, in these royal occasions, the thing to do is to politely applaud. Cheering and whooping is a more recent innovation. And so each year would come and stand by the pavement without anything else happening, and knowing that the Queen Mother's limousine would pass by. And then the Queen Mother, touched by this, began to stop. Would roll down each year, and it's become a regular event when she, in her lifetime, in her window, he would come forward and greet Her Majesty and present her with a little token of his affection, esteem, a box of chocolates from his shop. And the Queen Mother each year thereafter would stop and look out the window, say a few words to this good man, and receive his little gift. A gift which must have meant a lot to her, because he wasn't doing this for show, there's nobody about. Eventually the newspaper's gone on to this and so on. People would gather for this little royal visitation, we might say, and this event. And of course we see there an illustration of what we're trying to do. We offer to our Blessed Lady today our humble but heartfelt welcome, offering her, if not a box of chocolates, and our prayers, our hymns, our flowers, and our welcome for the course of this week, with the Holy Masses, the Holy Rosaries, the devotions from the manual, the hymns, and that no doubt is worth, we piously hope, a lot to the thoughtful and immaculate heart of the Holy Mother of God. So without further ado, we shall pass on to the next stage of this little ceremony by singing the Psalm 86, which begins with the words, "The foundations are in the holy mountains. The Lord loves the gates of Zion above all the tabernacles of Jacob."